Oh no, I'm just like the Titanic, headed for the iceberg. Jack, 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 turn right, turn right. Ah!
There's an old curiosity shop. Every once in a while I go by there for the fond recollections that lie there in that old curiosity shop.
Well, there's no way a little snow on the sidewalk is gonna stop me. I'm headed to one of my favorite little tiny thrift shops here in Philly called the Circle Thrift. If I don't fall down and break my neck on this ice, which I'm trying not to do. Well, let's go inside and see what's what. It's tiny, but I sometimes find treasures here. Well, I'll tell you, folks, I really like copper. What about you? I'm not a big fan of brass. There was so much of it in the 1980s. Some people say it's coming back, but I've always really liked copper. There's an old stamp there. Probably had somebody's address on it. Of course, you know, I'm attracted to green glass. Those aren't old. So I wasn't interested in buying them. I see a little, is it a Russian nesting doll back there? Now what is this? Ah, take a look at that. It says spare money, a bowling pin, probably from the 1950s when everybody belonged to a bowling league. Bowling night, remember that? I know my grandfather went to bowling night at the VFW back in the, well, after the war. He was a veteran, you know, came back, and there was the women's auxiliary. Your parents and grandparents did that as well, I would imagine. And so this is nice. Look at the handles. My good grief. It's Lefton. Probably the 1950s. Looks older than that, but it's not, and it's missing its lid. Boo hoo 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 hoo. But you could put pencils in it, I suppose, on your desk. A little bobblehead thing there from the Philadelphia Phillies. Your typical assortment of Christmas mugs. These are vintage, but not quite vintage enough for me. As you know, once we get out of the 1950s, I don't do a whole lot, but you know me, every once in a while something from the 60s or 70s really attracts me, and I'm happy to buy it to resell it. But my heart is really stuck in the 1930s. I'm going to show you a photograph at the end of this video, because some of you have asked me, well, why, you know, what's your love of the 1930s? Well, I'm going to give you a little insight on that if you'll stay tuned to the end at the end of the video. That's called a hook. That's to get you. Now, why is that fan running? There's, you know, 8 inches of snow out there. Well, not quite. And they had the fan. Well, maybe the fan is on just to keep the air circulated. We are under a restriction. There are only a certain number of people allowed in this store at one time. The capacity, I think, is maybe 12 people in this tiny little store. I like that motor over there, but I didn't stop to look at it. And not much in the light fixture department today. Sometimes it's hit or miss. I do also have a couple of, well, one really interesting surprise find that I need your help on, and I'm going to show it to you at the end of the video as well. You're not going to see me actually pull it off of the shelf. Oh, there's the old blue flower. Now you can see up here, 50 cents off, yellow and red half price. And then the Circle Thrift It talks about how the profits are shared and so forth. I really didn't let you see that for very long, but they do quite a bit of charity work. Circle Thrift. Maybe you have one in your city as well. I don't know. Now, you know what that is. Yeah, I sanitized my hands after touching that. Woo! I think we don't really need to explain what that is. Just don't put your baked beans in it.
You're as funny as a cry for help.
$14, man, they marked it down to $6. What does it say on the bottom? Made in England, I guess. I don't know, I can't see. It's a little blurry. Maybe it says made in England. Is that what it says? Well, it says porcelain. No, there, porcelain, royal porcelain. There we go. I can't really make out the rest of it, but there you go. There's your old slop pail. Wow, now look at this. This is a piece of Fenton. What do you think, everyone? Now, you know, we all have different likes and dislikes, and that's what makes the world go round. Are you attracted to that or not? I can't say that I I can't say. I got all choked up there. I can't say that I found that very attractive. That black glass handkerchief vase, I guess. Oh, Starbucks mugs. They sell for a little bit now and then. Oh, there's Miss Richmond, 1981. Provincetown. I have not been out on the Cape in... Oh, I would love to be out on the Cape right now. Get away from this snow. Anybody out on the Cape? I don't know. I've got some folks from Massachusetts, but I don't know if I have anybody on the Cape that watches. There's a view of the counter and the street outside. Not too much else in here, I don't think. But as I said, I'm going to have a surprise item at the end, and I will need your help on it, so stay with me. Well, in case you wonder what it's like dropping off packages in the city, here I'm at my little 1935 post office. Trying to film from inside the car. It is cold and windy outside. That's the little post office here on 9th Street, down here in South Philadelphia. You see everybody just kind of pulls in the best they can. Well, I've dropped off my packages, and now let's get out of this cold. Well, I have gone and changed thrift stores on you. Take a look at this. Now, what do you notice that's weird about it? Well, I like the pattern. I don't know if those are supposed to be vanilla beans or not. I guess not. But look at the handle on the lid. Now you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's a reject. That's a mistake. That got knocked into something in the kiln, and they dented. You know, they pushed the handle over on the top, or the knob. I guess you call it a knob on the lid. That's exactly the way it was manufactured. That's not an error at all. And that's a piece that's somewhat hard to find, although it doesn't sell for much. It's just an odd piece of 1930s American dinnerware. Edward M. Knowles, I think. Turn it upside down. Or is it Salem, China? No, it's Edward M. Knowles, China. Sylvan, S-Y-L-V-A-N. I like that pattern. Very 30s looking. But who designed that knob on the top beats me, but that's the way they designed it. Okay, now I will admit that I was the vice president of the Cyndi Lauper Fan Club 1984. But I would not go so far as to say that I am a fan of this furniture. Look at the built-in radio. This is fantastic. I'm surprised there's not a cassette on it, a cassette player on it. It's only $30. I have to get to where you can see this whole thing. I mean, is this hideous 1980s or what? I shouldn't say hideous. Okay, I take that back. Well, no, I don't take it back. It is hideous. Let me get to where you can see it. Now that's a little bit more my style. 1940s, 50s. Oh my goodness. Okay, changing gears here a little bit. What I'm trying to do with this piece here is to show you. Now, yesterday I mentioned, and you guys already know this, that you can usually tell with the naked eye if something is a decal or if it's hand painted. Remember I said if it's a decal, you'll usually see little tiny dots. Now, I don't mean dot matrix from the 80s or whatever we said back then, but I think I'm going to try this again. That didn't show up very well, so I pick it back up. I'm going to zoom in. Notice right, you'll see in a minute. There we go. You see that? You don't see any brush strokes. You see the little tiny dots. That's a decal. Yep, so no hand painting there. I think everybody probably already knew that, but this was a good example, so I thought I would just go ahead and share it with you. I left that on the shelf. It's pretty, though. Who's calling me? Well, drat, my battery ran down. Wouldn't be the first time. But hey, I'll show you everything else inside. There's not a whole lot, but I've got some things to show you. But look, $1. Not $1.01, $1. $1. I don't know if you can see all of it. Well, anyway, what do you think? That's beautiful. Now that's circa 1930. I don't know why I still have this on. Well, I didn't shave. This is circa 1930. And it's a 2-socket cluster lamp, and it is beautiful. Look at that. It's got sort of an Asian style, and then you see the butterfly up there? So there's raspberries on it. It's got crazing around the top, and I'm going to have to rewire it, but that's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I realize I'm jumping all over the place, and I know many of you just tune in to see the thrift hauls, but sometimes I like to throw in a little human interest as well. And people always ask me about the 1930s and 40s and the 1920s. Well, I've always loved that era and the designers of the time and the products that were made. I wanted to share a photograph with you. This is Christmas time, and this is well, I'll tell you. It's 1971, but take a look at that room. Besides the television set, that room is stuck in 1938, isn't it? That's my great-grandparents' house. There's old Aunt Trudy sitting back there in the dining room on the left. My cousin Beth is behind me, and my brother is behind me as well. I'm the little one in the front with a little jumper suit on, I guess you call it. It's Christmas time at our great-grandparents' house. And again, as I said, that's 1971. The television set looks to be at least 10 years old. And most of the furniture in that house is from the 1930s. They didn't change anything. That's the house that I remember so much about playing in. And after my great-grandfather died, my great-uncle, my grandfather's brother, continued to live in that house into the 1990s. And very little was changed. So, I think that's probably true for a lot of us. When we played at our grandparents' and our great-grandparents' houses, in many cases the houses were sort of stuck in a certain era. And so you can see the Depression-era furniture, and on the other side of the room was the fireplace, and a great big old easy chair, big old club chair in the corner where my great-grandfather sat. And he either had a pipe or a cigar or some type of tobacco. He always had a dish of black licorice. And sitting next to him was a great big old floor model radio that he probably got after the war. Now, if you think about it, if he bought that big old floor model radio in the late 40s, it was only about 20, 25 years old in the early 70s, and he continued listening to it. There was nothing wrong with it. It continued working. And so even though, I was born in 1967, I have many memories of that 1930s era house, my great-grandparents. One of the things I'll never forget is the tiny little bathroom downstairs. Now, that house was built before indoor plumbing, and when indoor plumbing was available, oftentimes in old houses like that in the city, they would take a pantry downstairs and just stick a toilet in it and a sink maybe. I guess that's where water closet comes from, because it wasn't any bigger than a closet. But I can remember being petrified to have to go to the bathroom in that house. They wouldn't take us upstairs where there was a nice bathroom that would have been installed probably in the 20s. No, we got shoved into this little closet, this tiny little closet with a little light bulb, a naked light bulb that hung from the ceiling with a chain on it. There was no window in there. And you could sit on the toilet and stretch your hands out, even as a small boy, and touch both walls to the right and the left. It was horrible, but I guess charming at the same time. Now, I remember one time my brother choked on a potato chip when we were in that house. Oh, you don't want to hear all this mess. But there it is, the old house, a lot of memories. I'm happy to say that I've got several things from that house. I won't go into all of that now, but my mother has some furniture, and a few cousins have a few things, and I've got lots of stuff, and I wouldn't part with it for anything. Okay, enough of that. Now I want to show you an item that I was promising at the beginning that I would show you, and I'm going to show you now, and I need your help. So let's go look at it. Okay, ain't she beautiful? She sure is. Now, I am familiar with Marie vases by, not vases, these heads, lady heads by Marie, and also Goldscheider of Vienna. She's completely unmarked, but totally 1930s. At least that's the style. She's a little on the French-looking side, I guess, with that hairdo and whatnot, but she's unmarked. I don't collect these. I'm no expert. And I always thought that the Marie and the Goldscheider pieces were marked. So maybe someone who is conversant with these will be able to give me some help. She's in good condition. You'll see two little tiny chips on that sort of Capa di Monte applied flowers on her front. As you see there, no mark on the bottom, and she's completely hollow. There's some crazing to the surface, as you would normally expect on old pottery or like this. But classic 1930s, I love her. Haven't had any time to look her up. Who made her? What do you think? Anybody know? I would love to know if anyone collects these and has an idea who the maker is. There was a little bit of dust down there on her bosom, and I thought it inappropriate for me to become that acquainted with her anatomy. So I didn't do any major cleaning. I'll leave that up to whomever purchases it or her. She will be for sale eventually in the old curiosity shop if I can find out who made her. I paid $2 at a West Philly thrift shop, and I think she's fabulous. What say you? Well, everyone, that's going to be it for tonight. I had a lot of fun making today's video. I hope you don't mind that I am rather scatterbrained, attention deficit all the way, all over the place, and, well, that's just who I am. So, listen, hey, we're done, right? This is Christmas Eve, And I don't know what you guys are doing. I am going to go run the sweeper in a minute. But first, what shall we feed the cat tonight? Thanksgiving Day dinner? Cowboy cookout or Grammy's pot pie? I'm kind of leaning toward Grammy's pot pie. What do you think? Stay well and healthy, everyone. I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop. I'll be back tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is Christmas Eve day, and I'm going to go back into the archive. Now, yes, back into the archive and pull out some old videos. Two that I did last Christmas, you may remember, and I found, I have a collection of old photographs in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. People just having a wonderful Christmas time, and I put them all together in a montage and set it to music. Some of you saw it last year. Well, we have a lot of new subscribers. You don't have to go back and search in the archive. I'm bringing them back, and I'm going to have them so that they're available to be seen Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I'm going to do part 3 of the old Christmas cards. I'm having so much fun sharing them with you. And I promise you a little home decor video, including the finished train set, my father's train set, all set up and running under the tree. So I have a lot more to bring you just to spend time with you during Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I hope you'll tune in. All right, folks, that's it. Time to run that sweeper. So long for now.